she hates the phrase national treasure. So how does one describe Dame Judi Dench? She's been called ridiculously talented, inspirational, a shining star, and a tough old boot. One of Britain's best and best loved actresses. Dame Judi's extraordinary career began in the 1960s when she joined the Old Vic Company and was immediately recognised as a considerable talent. However, mastery of Shakespeare, the classics, wasn't enough. Judi Dench always craved variety, and here we see her in 1968, captured by BBC cameras as she was creating the role of Sally Bowles from the original London production of the musical Cabaret.
I was going to be a designer, decor and costumes and things, and then I was quite determined to be that. My brother, who was older than me, who was at Stratford at the moment, he went to Central, and I suppose I kind of got like a disease in a way from him a bit. So I just kind of overnight thought I'll have a go at the other. I wasn't stage struck or frightfully kind of burning. Mind you, at the Mount, at my school, I'd had a marvellous teacher called Kathleen MacDonald, who was at the Young Vic School, and who was wonderful. But I didn't take it all that seriously. I was kind of enthusiastic schoolgirl, you know. And the person who really made a big difference was Dickie Hadd at Central. In my third year, Dickie Hadd said to me, Michael Bentor wants to see you at the Old Vic. Well, I had a friend who had left Central then and was walking on at the Vic, and I thought, how marvellous, this is what I'd love to do. That's my ambition, was to walk on at the Vic. And so I went along and saw him, and he said, now, I want you to learn this speech from Hamlet, of Ophelia. I did an audition, and Michael said, I'm going to take the most enormous gamble. Would like you to play Ophelia in Hamlet. And I just burst into tears. I'm afraid I made a spectacle of myself. And he said, I don't want you to tell anyone there. In fact, I didn't tell anyone for about 6 weeks. It was agony. The younger one is, and the more inexperienced, the less frightened one is. I've never been confident. I really get so frightened that I can't speak before a first night. I get paralysed with fear. But now I'm much more frightened than I was then, 10 years ago. Much more frightened. I went up about a film once, before I'd ever made a film. And I went into a room, and there were 5 big men there. And they offered me a seat, and nobody said anything. So this time I thought I won't ask any questions. So I didn't. And this man looked at me for a long time. And then he took a cigar out of his mouth, and he said, Miss Dench, you have every single thing wrong with your face. And I got up and I walked out of the room. And that was my first year of acting. And it died hard, I can tell you. I'm more frightened now. I suppose it's because one has a line of things behind one. One has 10 years' experience. And therefore, you feel you've got to progress. You can't ever stand still. You can't go back, or at least you hope you won't stand still or go back. So you have to, and also you're aware of the mistakes that one can make. It's like building a house of cards. You know, when you get to your hand starts to shake when you get up to the top. I do like the challenge of something new. I mean, that's why I've always wanted to do a musical, and that's why I want to do it. And everyone kind of says, oh, get you, when they say musical. But I want to have a go. And I want to have a, you know, great big orchestra and everything, and a bit of dancing, a bit of singing, a bit of acting, and a chorus and all. I long for that. Because that's a really different thing. Where I thought, oh, do a musical and the great big overture or strike up. There isn't an overture in Cabaret. It's a long roll on a cymbal.
That quest for new challenges would see this acclaimed stage actress surprise everybody when she decided to tackle the TV sitcom with her husband Michael Williams in A Fine Romance. The role led to this appearance on The Wogan Show, which kicked off with one of the big questions.
Seem to like you and welcome you. Why Judy with an I instead of with a Y?
Because it's Judith, and when I went to a drama school, there was another Judy as well. So they decided that they would just knock the TH off. So I became Judy and she was Judy.
And you call your daughter Findy?
Finty.
Finty?
Yes,
What's
it's
that
not,
short
that's
for?
just a nickname. She is really called Tara.
Ah,
But, yes. Well, it's a logical
Logical
conclusion.
seam.
Yes, quite. And so we called her Finty. We thought it was going to be a boy and we called him Finn. But it turned out to be a girl, so she was nicknamed Finty. And that's stuck, really, now.
Yeah. So you're married to that fine actor Michael Williams and you work together in A Fine Romance. Is it that you can't bear to be away from each other?
Well, you see, we do like working together. And you see, I do know where he is in the evening, too, that means. We like working together, and I think that for a lot of actors and actresses, maybe they don't work so well. But we seem to, and we knew each other 9 years before we were married, so we're really old friends.
It's the cliche question. I mean, when you fall out on the set or when you fall out at home, you carry it on to the set
We've had a
or
couple
to the
of tricky
theatre.
times,
Have
yes.
you? Yeah.
Yes, we've had a couple of tricky times when we had a terrible row just before Christmas last year, and it lasted a whole day, the row, and went on towards the evening, and we were both going to the theatre together to play in a play together, Pack of Lies, and we got into the taxi, and it was ice everywhere in the taxi, ice on the seats, ice from the ceilings, and we looked out of the various windows. He looked out that side, I looked out this side. I thought this is going to make a very tricky evening. And we came to a traffic jam in Shaftesbury Avenue, and still sitting there and still not saying a word, a woman through the window saw us and suddenly went, "A fine romance," and we took it in turns to go, "Thank you very much." It didn't break till the next morning. I'm afraid.
The strain.
The strain is terrible, isn't
Emotional and thespian. Yeah. Do people expect you to be like the character you play in Fine Romance?
They do expect us to be like that, and they think that our lives at home were exactly like it. But I think that it's not at all like us. But I think that the appeal of it, and we certainly had no idea that it would be so appealing, the programme, but is because it is more like real life, in that life is more like having a dinner with somebody and thinking how lovely you are, and you find the spinach on your tooth or the egg all down your front.
Yes, it's identification.
I mean, yes.
How do you feel, though? You're a distinguished Shakespearean actress. That's a desperate cough you have up there, Mr. I know how you feel. Now, a distinguished Shakespearean actress acting in O'Casey, marvellous plays and wonderful reviews, and yet to be best known for a somewhat trivial television
Yes, and
comedy.
a lot of people say to me, "Is this the first job you've had?" So it's very nice to reach an audience who don't want to come and see Shakespeare and don't want to come and see O'Casey, but who do want to sit and see you in there.
But you don't feel, is this what all my training has been about?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I like it a lot because I like to do something that is the most unexpected thing. And it was, a lot of people say, "Oh, you want to do a situation comedy." And I thought, that's exactly what I want to do. The moment somebody says, "Oh, that's rotten casting for a part. She can't play Lady Bracknell," that somehow is the one thing I want, to want to play it.
And when you're playing something comedy like this, they always say comedy's harder to play than serious stuff. Do you find that so?
Well, I laugh more doing serious stuff than I do during the comedy.
Really?
Yes. The serious stuff, when you have to actually be very serious and something goes wrong, I've got myself into serious trouble for that. Many things. In Mother Courage, which is like near 3.5 hours of dragging a cart around the station, not many laughs. About the last afternoon, 2 of the boys who were playing soldiers, I had to give a drink to, and they used to give me money. And on the last afternoon, because they thought it was so funny, they gave me, instead of giving me the money, they gave me an American card. Express, yes. Yeah. So didn't bat an eyelid about it, but between the two shows, I doctored the drink, so that when they came and asked for the drink and threw it back, they had half water, half vinegar, cider vinegar. and then what was wonderful about it, and why it actually rebounded on me, was that they had to actually come back and say, we would like another drink. They have to say in the thing, we want another drink. And I thought, well, by all means. Here's the next.
What about films? Have you don't seem to have done
No, I
too
don't
many.
do it. Well, I'm not asked to do many.
Why not?
Well, because I'm not what they want to look at. They just say, oh,
But if they get...
see,
they're not sympathising with you, they're saying shame, shame.
well, I think that sometimes about films, if you don't go in looking like the person you're meant to look like in the film, people perhaps don't cast you in that part. Whereas in the theatre, you can fool a lot of people a lot of the time. You can look taller in the theatre, and you can do amazing things to yourself that makes you actually not look like yourself at all. And I don't think they like to do that so much in films.
But I mean,
They like to get
you
somebody
like
who
what you
looks-
look like. You have no hang-ups about that.
I don't want to even talk about that.
Whilst Judi wasn't happy talking about her looks, she was happy talking about acting to Roy Plumley for his 1985 programme, Favourite Things.
Nowadays, of course, an actress doesn't work in one medium. Which medium do you think you slot into most easily?
The theatre, I think, Roy. I mean, I've been asked this question a lot of times, and it's only now really, having been asked it a lot of times and really thought about it, that I think it is the theatre, only because you get more chances to get it right. Also, there's a tremendous gift of the audience actually coming out of their homes and buying a ticket and coming to the theatre. It seems to me the reward of doing it back to them is very little to ask.
So you'd certainly declare that acting is a favourite thing.
Yes, acting is a favourite thing, and a wonderful way of communicating. It only once, when we were doing St Joan at Nottingham, for some reason the dress rehearsal was delayed, and we all got ready. We were all ready, made up and everything, and we were sitting in the green room. The sun was pouring in through the window, and I suddenly looked around at all these grown people dressed in knitted chain mail, and I thought, this is absurd. I don't know what I'm doing here. But I have to add also that I loved playing it, and I was very happy in the production. But it was an absurdity suddenly to see these people when you could look out and see the ordinary, sensible people going about their everyday work.
Yeah. But you can always accept your own illusion.
I can't accept my own, but I hope other people will accept it. And I feel more comfortable when I'm dressed up as somebody else, being somebody else and talking. So I can't make a speech in public. People would say to me, if you would come along as so-and-so and dress up in these clothes and wear a wig and look entirely different, I could perhaps do a speech, but I find it difficult to go along as myself. I don't find this difficult because I'm talking to you as a friend and we're having a conversation. Mm-hmm. But I find the actual business of making a speech to a lot of people painfully difficult.
After a strenuous performance, how long does it take you to relax and get back to reality?
It doesn't take long at all with me. I find that Michael, when he comes home, he can't actually go to bed at the same time as I do because he's on such a high after it that he has to pad about the house, changing the pictures and pushing the furniture around. But the thing I like best is to do 2 shows and then come back and watch the late-night movie. Vincent Price, I like the, Fall of the House of Usher. I love it. I don't mind how many times I see it. Mm-hmm. But I do find that is the most wonderful way of relaxing.
Yes, having done a couple of performances yourself, you now sit down and watch somebody else give one.
Absolutely. And have the joy of being able to turn off if I want and go to bed. Or, I'd like to be able to do that sometimes during an evening performance of my own.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Dreadful, of course, if somebody walked out of the theatre. That's the one person that you can see.
Yes, there was one moment in the Comedy of Errors at Stratford when I didn't have anybody coming to the show that evening, and I was not feeling very much like it. I couldn't get the energy together. So I said to Michael and to Roger Rees and Nick Grace, and I said, I am doing it for the lady. I saw a lady. I'm doing it for this lady who was sitting in green on the second row on the right-hand side. And I played up a storm until suddenly we came back after the interval and she left.
Oh, no. If you had to say, what is your favourite thing of all, what would it be?
It would have to be, if it's allowed, it would have to be that it isn't thing at all, it's people that are the most favourite. Because you know, that thing of sharing jokes or sharing even experiences or sharing a company together or whatever beats anything, really. Beats pictures or everything.
This is one of the great things about the theatre, about show business, about the comradeship.
I think so. And also very much about actors, because they are not, they're not bothered about colour or creed or age or class or anything. It doesn't really mean anything. There's a kind of universal language, and that's very important.
3 years later, Dame Judi made a return to the Wogan show, this time sharing the sofa with another grande dame, Margaret Rutherford. She talked about her debut as a theatre director, for which she blamed Kenneth Branagh.
Yes. Now, your debut as director in Much Ado for Kenneth Branagh's Renaissance Theatre, was that must have been a tremendous challenge for you? Is that something you wanted to do all the time? You've always wanted to direct?
It wasn't at all.
No.
It was an idea of Ken's, and he came, and I thought he was going to ask me to play a part, and he didn't. He just said, will you come and direct a company, and will you do Much Ado? So I got the part, the job, and the play all kind of in one go, like that. And I couldn't say no, could I?
Well, do you like
So I
it?
did it.
Do you like directing?
I like a lot of it. He said, Ken Branagh says I'm bossy and schoolmarmish when I do it. But he's drunk with power, Ken Branagh, now, so he would say that. So, but yes, I did like it. I loved it. I loved it.
Do you like bossing people around on the
No, I
stage?
didn't much like it, no, but I got quite cross when they did things that I said, please don't do this. And then they come on and do it. And then you come to this thing like a first night, and kind of wrong stresses go on. It's like somebody saying, you've got your watch on, they say, you know.
Yeah.
You say, it isn't you've got your watch on, it's you've got your watch on.
But newsreaders do that all the time anyway on the television, the wrong emphasis. So,
But it's...
the headmistress bit, I mean, are you conscious of it in yourself?
No, it's not true. It's just getting a cheap laugh.
It's just mad Kenneth Branagh,
Yes, it's
isn't it?
power mad Kenneth Branagh. Yes, it's not true. We had a lot of laughs. I suppose I was quite bossy, but I learnt a lot from them. And I loved working with them all. I'm so proud of them. They're 15 of the most talented young actors and actresses. Everybody must go and see them at the Phoenix.
What about you? We've seen you in so many tremendous parts. I mean, your Cleopatra was tremendously admired. A lot of what can only be described as unbridled passion on the stage.
A lot of
Anthony
that
Hopkins.
there was, yes.
Yes. Much bruising.
Yes, there was a lot of bruising. You heard about that, did you? Yes, and nearly flying off into the audience a couple of times, yes. Just saved by the bell, I was.
Would that kind of a scene, I'm just interested in how you would play it, would that be all meticulously rehearsed and blocked out and everything?
Well, Tony and I found out that when we worked together, it was better, we said to Sir Peter Hall, it's better if you don't tell us could we just have these moves very fluid so that I don't know what he's going to do and he doesn't know what I'm going to do. And that's what happened. So sometimes Tony would come on I'd be looking one way and he'd come on from here, or vice versa. And so it was very, very, very exciting.
Do the roles take you over? I mean, you...
No.
They don't. I mean, you don't walk around Sainsbury's as Cleopatra.
No. Tricky, actually. Tricky shopping. Tricky shopping when you come to play Lady Macbeth around Sainsbury's. No, they don't at all.
But that's, if I may say, that's the thing about you, that you are, and I don't mean to patronise, but a real person in the sense that you'll get these wonderful crits, one at night, and then bingo, out you go shopping the following, because you're a housewife and mother as well, you see.
That's it.
That keeps the old feet on the ground.
It certainly does.
You've often said that you're not all that keen on film acting because you can end up as the face on the cutting room floor, and that you haven't as much control over what you do.
Yes, that's true. I mean, I feel I have no control over what I do at all on film, and in fact, I know I haven't. I haven't seen any of the films I've done.
Not even.
Room with a View. I haven't seen that. No, haven't seen
Well,
anything.
honestly, you'd like it if you saw it.
No, I wouldn't like it. No.
Is
I'd
it
hate
good?
it, I expect.
Why, do you get embarrassed looking at yourself?
Very embarrassed. I don't mind if I'm sitting at home and I can kind of glance at it, but I get embarrassed sitting with a lot of people looking.
Well, we'll embarrass you then.
Oh, no.
Yes, come on, let's have... No, well, I'd love to see. There's a lovely little piece we have for you.
No.
Here it is. It's coming up now.
One has always to be open, wide open. I think Miss Lucy is.
Open to what, Miss Lavish?
To physical sensation. I will let you into a secret, Miss Bartlett. I have my eye on your cousin, Miss Lucy Honeychurch.
Oh, for a character in your novel, Miss Lavish.
The young English girl transfigured by Italy. And why should she not be transfigured? It happened to the Goths.
Is this
It's a lovely line. You were just saying that you couldn't see that anyway because you'd forgotten your glasses.
Yes.
Cinema roles were now becoming increasingly frequent. But in the early 1990s, Julie bucked expectations by taking on As Time Goes By, another TV sitcom, this time co-starring with Geoffrey Palmer. There wasn't much laughing in Judy's next role, but it was the one that, in terms of the cinema, catapulted her into the awareness of international audiences as James Bond's no-nonsense boss, M. And then came a lovely role for her, Mrs. Brown, where her portrayal of a grieving and then smitten Queen Victoria had Hollywood suddenly enthralled.
Here in the studio is Judi Dench, deservedly nominated for her portrayal of Queen Victoria in Mrs. Brown. Judi, welcome, and how did you feel when you'd heard you'd actually got an Oscar nomination?
It's hard to put into words. It's hard to put into words what has happened to this film for me. As you know, it was made for television to go out last Easter, on Easter Monday. And since that, it's suddenly, thanks to Miramax, we've been to Cannes, and I've been to New York and Los Angeles and Dublin and Edinburgh and Glasgow, and now I'm going to Los Angeles. I have a lot of bets against myself going, and I've had to pay up on a few because of the nomination.
And what about Mrs. Brown? Was that an enjoyable experience for you?
It was enjoyable from the second I said I was going to do it, because of Billy, of course, and because of John Madden, and we'd work, you know, my calls used to be like 4:45 in the mornings, and you get in at about 9, have a bath, have something to eat, and then while you sat listening to Billy telling jokes, you'd look at your watch thinking, can I do this on 3 hours? Can I actually play this part tomorrow on 3 hours? But, you know, no makeup for her. So I didn't have that. It wasn't too much of a problem that she looked pretty stressed in some of the scenes.
It's your first real starring role in a movie, isn't it?
It is, it is.
Because you don't like films much, do you?
I don't know the business of it. I really rely very, very, very much on the director, as I do in the theatre. But I'm very, very unsure of myself in the movies, very.
Has the Oscar nomination made any difference? I mean, you're suddenly much more confident about the movies.
No, it has made me very, very excited, and I'm extremely surprised about it. And I shall enjoy every minute of it.
All that razzmatazz.
Well, that'll be a very, very great acting feat for me, is to be able to control myself enough to look very, very calm and poised that night and not be overexcited about who I'm looking at.
You're not starstruck, are you?
I'm totally. Yes, I love it. Look at you. I mean, I'm delighted to be talking to you.
Well, I'm delighted to be talking to you, but I mean, that's...
I am, I'm afraid, yes.
Yeah. You make it all sound as if this is terribly novel, but I mean, you've got the Golden Globe, of course, for the same role. What do you think of your chances?
I don't expect to win it. I really, genuinely don't.
How can you compare? You haven't even seen any of your rivals' performances, have
I
you?
haven't, no, it's terrible. I will, though. I will go and see.
Yes. Judi, thank you very much, and all the very best of luck on Monday week.
Thank you very much indeed.
Judi didn't win that year, but she did win the following year. An 8-minute performance in Shakespeare in Love, resulting in the Best Supporting Actress Oscar. She was 64. The following years were a mix of triumph and tragedy. Judi lost her beloved husband Michael to cancer. Professionally, however, she seemed unstoppable, gathering 5 more Oscar nominations. It was an extraordinary record, and something that director Richard Eyre tried to explore when he interviewed her in 2002.
Judi, you've had a stream of successes recently in films, from Mrs. Brown, Shakespeare in Love, Iris, and recently Bond films, but most of your career you've spent in the theatre. And I'd say now that you're at your peak, but you could say that you've been at your peak for 40 years. But do you think you've got better?
I absolutely can't answer that question, because I have no kind of degree of self-judgment, really. Somebody came round the other night after The Breath of Life and said, "How did you feel about this evening?" I said, "I'm sorry, but that's a question I should ask you, not you should ask me." I think sometimes when actors think that they've given perhaps a good performance, they may have given the worst performance of their lives. I don't think we're good at judging.
Why would they have given the worst performance of their lives?
Well, I don't think necessarily we're the best people to judge this side of the footlights, for instance. And as I don't see any films, I do, or very, very rarely, and I haven't seen Room with a View, and I haven't seen Chocolat, and I haven't seen The Shipping News, and I haven't seen Die Another Day, I'm not good at judging anyway, then.
So the bit of both, but the paradox about acting is that it's a perfect balance between being conscious of yourself and not being self-conscious. And I think you have that perfect balance. Are you aware of that?
No.
But you are, because I've seen you.
I'm not.
When I've been working with you, you will sometimes do a piece of business. Let's say one night you'll pick up a glass, go to drink it, and then decide not to drink it. And it's a remarkable gesture.
Oh,
and
I
I've
shall do
said
it
to you,
tonight.
I've said to you, "Oh, Judi, I love it when you do," and you say, "Yes, I did that on that word," and I've got, "Really?" You seem to be completely spontaneous, and yet you have a perfect memory and a perfect consciousness.
Well, isn't it the same thing as actually being on the stage, where although you and I can be playing a scene together, this ear here is not actually listening to you. This ear is turned round like cats and is listening to every single bit of that, so that I know that person up there is coughing, and I know that person down there is coughing. And this eye here is not looking at you, but it's actually also watching there, so that you know, it is a kind of double kind of, it's a kind of dichotomy, isn't it, really? I don't know. I don't know. It's perhaps good not to think too much about it.
Do you think it's learned? I mean, technique, you've learned how to act in films, haven't you?
I've learnt better how to act in films, but that will never, although I love the process of that now, which I used to really dislike intensely. Now, having done more films, I understand that. That is absolutely watching other people who are good at it. I mean, I was told. No, I never wanted to be in a film. So I didn't understand it then, and I actually don't really understand it now. I mean, I understand that we can do a scene, but it seems to me that there are so many thousands of ways to do a scene that it is an agony to me that one way is chosen. So therefore, that one way is kind of in formaldehyde. There it is. It's why I don't like going and seeing films, because I would want to change them. That's why the theatre is so alive, because it's spontaneous. I mean, tonight I will do something that I didn't do last night. I may do it worse, but I may do it better.
You're almost, in this country, a surrogate royal family, and you're rather better behaved than most of them.
Do stop.
But one of the reasons that you have the stated part, because people cast you as queens, Cleopatra.
Only 3 queens.
Well, 3 queens is enough.
Well, 3 queens in 44 years isn't much.
Well, it's probably 3 more than most people have paid. But people identify you with a sort of grace, a dignity, and a stoicism, endurance. In some way, they intuit from your performances qualities that you have as a person. I mean, it's not a coincidence that you're the person that the families of the people who died in the Twin Towers ask to read a lesson. Do you have any sense of what it is in yourself?
No, I would like them to think I was a firebrand, and I don't like to be thought of as stoic. I don't particularly like that. I would like to be. It's like I dislike that as much as I dislike being pigeonholed as one thing. I've never wanted to be thought of as one kind of actress. If a part came up, you know, if having played, who should we say, Iris Murdoch, another part comes up of a similar kind of quality, then I can't do that. Everything in me says no. Do something, be a tightrope walker in a circus. I don't want to have just a particular kind of form of being thought of. I don't like that.
But I suppose the paradox for me, who know you very well, is that if people think of you as this terribly graceful, demure, genteel person, the reality is that you're very...
I'm certainly not. I'm none of this.
Raunchy.
Raunchy is a good word. Yes, raunchy. Yes,
I mean, there's nothing prudish about you.
I hope not.
So does anything human disgust you? What makes you? I've heard you say.
Small-mindedness makes me very, very angry indeed. And rigidness makes me angry. Rigidity of not ever being able to see beyond what you imagine the boundaries are. That's always irritated me. And I don't like that unawareness of people. When people stand actually much too close to you or invade that kind of area that we all have. So barge, you know, not necessarily physical barging in, but somehow, you know, don't give you just a space of some kind.
That's quite important. Your own privacy is very important to you.
Yes. I remember Catherine Whitehorn saying that anyone who is in the theatre has no right to a private life. She said it a long time ago, and I thought I couldn't disagree with her more, because I think we show so much of us, you know, in all aspects. Because previously, having said of sieving everything through you, you actually expose a lot of yourself, and you peel a lot of the onion things off. I think you ought to be able to have that thing inside that is just you, and that just you know about.
But do you think it's part of the prurient curiosity of the public that they want to invade out of fascination?
Yes, and they think they know you. People imagine, because they see you in so many things, they imagine that that's what you're like. They imagine that they know you as a person, and that's not so.
Apart from having a terrible temper, which I must say you use very selectively, what do you think your faults are?
I think I jump to the conclusion about things and people too quickly, but I've always done that, and I nearly always proved wrong.
What do you think your faults as an actress
are? Perhaps I don't want to say, because that's why, for some reasons, that I can't see my performance on stage, and I don't go very often to see myself in films, because I don't want to come face to face with that. Because I once remember seeing the television of Macbeth and being so desperately disappointed, because I thought that surely wasn't what I was doing. I don't like to. See, it's a very cowardly side of me, that I don't want to see that. I don't want to see something that I think was so different. I was appalled. So I thought it can't have been like that. So I thought, I won't look at something until a long time has passed. Then I would probably look at it again.
Do you think you're vain?
I'm vain insofar as sometimes I see a photograph of myself and think, oh, please, that's not me, because I'm this tall, willowy, blonde woman. I am vain then, yes. But vain, I'm not vain in that I'm not vain to think, oh, well, I wouldn't do that because I'm A, prudish about it, or B, it won't show me up in a good light, or C, I won't look good to it. I don't mind. That doesn't make me in the slightest. So if that's not being vain, then I'm not vain.
So it's the highest virtue, and a virtue I think you possess, and the virtue you admire most in others, is that generosity?
I do admire that. I do admire that enormously. And I think also, you know, I mean, yes, generosity of spirit, and just generous in order to be able to talk and maybe change your mind about something. Because unless you have that kind of amorphous, you're that kind of amorphous person, then it seems to me that you would come like that to a part and you would say, this is the boundaries of my seeing this part. So therefore, everything that is fed in about you, you know, it's why I don't want to read the play really beforehand, because you hear actors, you hear other characters say something, so that all comes. So it's an amorphous thing all the time. In the theatre, it's always like that. Every night is like this, and every night changes, because you suddenly hear something that you think, "Oh, I haven't really thought about." I remember on the 100th performance of Antony and Cleopatra, suddenly thinking something, why didn't I think? And then I thought, well, there's just time to do it tonight. Whereas in film, you know, you make the choice, and you still are amorphous, but you make the choice, but then that choice is suddenly bottled. It's bottled, and it never changes. And very, very, very good film actors don't mind about that. But I mind very much, so in that way I am vain. In that I mind very, very much indeed that it isn't as good as I could get it, I think.
It's that never-ending quest for improvement, even amidst so much acclaim, that has made Dame Judi Dench's career such a success and such a delight to watch. She's achieved all there is to achieve on stage, television and the big screen. And yet, with every new role, she just seems to get better and better.
And Dame Judi Dench gives her Lady Bracknell next on BBC Two in The Importance of Being Earnest.